Hello my dear students, how are you? Today we are going to learn the poem The World is Too Much With Us by William Wordsworth. This poem is prescribed in the FYBA syllabus of General Paper 1, Semester 1 of Savitribai Phule Pune University. As you all know, William Wordsworth, he is a famous romantic poet. Along with his friend S.T. Coleridge, he started the Romantic movement in England in English literature. About the biographical information about William Wordsworth, I have earlier made two videos about his two poems. One is A Slumber Did My Spirit Still and My Heart Lifts Up. So in this video, I will talk less about the biography of William Wordsworth and we will talk more about the poem The World is Too Much With Us. So in short, about William Wordsworth, he was born in the year 1770 and he died in 1850. His death took place in 1850. He was born in the Lake District of England and he was the son of an attorney. He was educated first at Penrith and then at Hawkshead Grammar School. He joined St. John's College, Cambridge in 1787. Wordsworth describes the different periods of his life vividly in his work, The Prelude. He has written about his biographical incidents in his work, The Prelude. In 1795, after receiving a legacy, Wordsworth lived with his sister Dorothy, first in Dorset and then in Alphinstone, close to his friend and fellow poet Coleridge. During this period, Wordsworth wrote many of his greatest poems. In the winter of 1798, he visited Germany with his sister Dorothy and the poet fellow Coleridge. Wordsworth and Coleridge published a collection of poems called the Lyrical Ballad. Together, S.T. Coleridge and William Wordsworth, together they published a collection of poetry called the Lyrical Ballads. Okay, the second edition of this was published in the year 1800, and with the publication of the Lyrical Ballad, the Romantic movement in English literature began. So, what is Romantic movement? The Romantic movement means the poets who were the followers of this Romantic movement or the Romantic philosophy, they believed that nature is their god, philosopher, friend, and even the mentor. So they described the beauty of the nature. They got the inspiration from the nature rather than the inner nature, that is the nature of human being, upon which the earlier poets focused upon. So these romantic poets, they focused upon the external nature rather than the internal nature, that is the human nature. They wrote about very simple themes such as the life of the rustic people, life of the common ordinary people, and they wrote in the very simple language. That was the special feature of the Romantic poetry. As I told you earlier, I have described all these things in my earlier videos, so please watch those videos. Okay, we will move further. The poems of the collection from the Lyrical Ballads, they are different from those of Wordsworth's predecessor poets, and belong to the genre of Romantic poetry. Idealism, escapism, and return to nature or back to nature. Nature was at the center of the Romantic poetry. The Romantic poems or the poems of the romantic poets, they were woven around the external nature. Idealism, escapism, and return to nature or back to nature were the major themes of the romantic poetry. This publication, Lyrical Ballad, was followed by the publication of poems in 2 volumes in 1807, which included the poems like Resolution and Independence and Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood. So about this poem, the world is too much with us. It is a sonnet. Wordsworth poetry is even read today. You might be wondering, even after maybe 200 or 300 years till date, we are reading the poems of William Wordsworth. I am teaching you the poems of William Wordsworth. How come it is possible? How come a person can be so popular for almost 300 years? Because the poems of William Wordsworth, they have universal themes which are true even today, like back to nature. Even in this moment also, the main theme, it is very important, back to nature or returning to our earlier lifestyle. So his poems are very much important even today because they are universal, not only in the sense of the world, that is they are giving the message to whole world, as well as universal means they are for all time, they are true for all time, in all the ages, in all the periods. His poetry's almost universal appeal is perhaps best explained by Wordsworth's own word. He has explained the universality of his poems. For him, the poetry was the most philosophical of all writing, whose object is truth. The object of his poetry was nature, and what he says, in nature what we get is nothing but truth. So the whole philosophy of Wordsworth, nothing but truth. Nature never speaks lies, or natural objects never speak any lie like the human beings. So he is saying the whole philosophy of romantic movement is dependent upon nature, and poetry is nothing but philosophy, was his opinion. The world is too much with us. This poem is one of his most popular sonnets, and it is a Petrarchan sonnet. So, in the beginning, do you know what is sonnet? What is the meaning of the word sonnet? So, let us discuss it. Sonnet, is a type of a lyric. Sonnet is a lyric, simple lyric of 14 lines. So, what is sonnet? Sonnet is a type of a lyric which consists of 14 lines. And these 14 lines, they are divided into 2 parts. First part is octave and the second part is sestet. Second part is sestet. Okay. In octave, generally the question is raised or the problem is put forth. Question raised or the problem is put forth, and in sestet what we get is the answer or the solution to the problem is derived in the sestet part. So how these 14 lines they are divided, it depends upon the type of the sonnet. There are types of sonnets even, but we must know from where the genre, the sonnet came from. It originated from Italy. The Italian word origin is in Italy, and the original Italian word for sonnet is sonetto. And what is the meaning of that word? Sonetto, it is double N, sorry. What is the meaning of the word sonetto? It is little song, or it is a short song. That is the meaning of the word, Italian word sonetto, and the same thing we meant in the English literature even. So the sonnet form was popularized by the poet Petrarch in Italy. So one of the main type of sonnet is the Petrarchan sonnet. And who introduced the sonnet form in English literature? There were 2 poets, Watt and Surrey. These two poets introduced the sonnet form in the English literature. Sonnet form was introduced in English literature by these two poets, but later many poets, especially the Shakespeare, he popularized the sonnet form in England, and one of the major type of sonnet nowadays is Shakespearean sonnet. First one is Petrarchan sonnet, second one is Shakespearean sonnet, and there is another form of sonnet, another type of sonnet, that is Spenserian sonnet. So The World is Too Much with Us is a Petrarchan sonnet. So how Petrarchan sonnet is divided? In Petrarchan sonnet, octave is of 8 lines and sestet is of 6 lines. So The World is Too Much with Us is a type of a Petrarchan sonnet. Okay, Petrarchan sonnet is also divided into two parts, octave and sestet. Octave is of 8 lines in which question is raised or the problem is raised, put forth before the readers, and in the sestet there are 6 lines. The answer is given or the solution is derived at the end of the sonnet. Okay, and in Shakespearean sonnet, octave is of 6 lines, sestet is of 6 lines, and there is a concluding couplet. Couplet is a type of stanza in which there are 2 lines where the conclusion is drawn. So we are going to study another Shakespearean sonnet. That's why I am not discussing in detail over here. So let us move towards the poem now. So what is the main theme of this poem? The world is too much with us. You can guess what Wordsworth is trying to tell us, that the world is too much with us. We are nowadays engaged in the material world. See, after industrialization, people are engaged more in the material world. People, they migrated to cities, industries were established in the coastal areas, cities were established over there. People shifted from rural areas to the metropolitan cities or the cities earlier, okay, and they turned their backs to the nature. They moved away from the natural world, and we are more engaged nowadays in the material world. We are more engaged in luxuries. We are paying more attention to luxuries rather than paying attention more to the natural world. See, nowadays we are engaged in the screens. Okay, even now I am teaching you on the screen even. So there are 3 to 4 screens in which we are engaged much. The first one is the TV screen, the theater screen, the mobile screen, and the laptop screen, the computer screen. Okay, so we are looking towards these screens for more time than we are looking towards the natural object, like the sky is there, birds are there, rivers are there. We are not paying attention to them. We are not engaging in them. We are not deriving the pleasure, happiness from them, but we are paying more attention to all these luxuries. We are running after money. We don't have time. What is the ultimate answer given by human being? We don't have time. So we are paying more attention to luxury, money, and our comfort. So let us see what Wordsworth is saying in this poem. The world is too much with us, late and soon. He is saying the world is too much with us, late and soon. The world is with us, was with us, and even today it is with us, and even tomorrow it will be with us, means this material world. But nowadays we are more engaged in these worldly things, late and soon. It is one of the figure of speech in which 2 opposite terms are used in the single line. In a single line he is saying the world is too much with us, late and soon. The figure of speech is called as oxymoron. Okay, so he is satirically saying this. He is criticizing that we are engaged in the material world, and that's why he has used the figure of speech oxymoron. Getting and spending, what we are doing? In the morning we get up, we run after our jobs, we earn money, and what we do at the end of the day? We spend the money. Getting and spending. Another example of Oxymoron. Getting and spending, we lay waste our power. We are using our power. We are using our vital energy. Important energy for these fruitless things. See, one of your friend is having the mobile of a one company, cell phone of a one company. He is very happy. You are having the mobile phone of another company. You are also happy. But when you start comparing the two cell phones with each other, two mobiles with each other, you start feeling that no, his mobile is having more features. My mobile is having less features. And our happiness index starts decreasing. But does it happen when we go in the company of nature, when you observe the sky, when you observe the flying birds, when you listen to the music of the rivers flowing, okay, when we listen to the sea roaring, okay, when the waves are there coming up and down, we enjoy the waves. So no such kind of jealousy, enmity is present in the natural world as opposite to the material world. So he is saying getting and spending, we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature, that's what I am saying from the beginning. Little we see in nature, we are paying more attention to this material world and we are paying very less attention to the natural world. Less attention to the nature. And if I ask you the question today, are you happy? How many of you will say immediately that I am happy? Only 10% people will say we are happy. But see, when we go for picnics, when we go for outings, when we go for rainy season trips in the company of nature, all the faces, they are glittering and shining and we all are enjoying in the company of nature. Nature gives us the happiness without cost. That is most important thing. When you are paying for entertainment in this material world, see, if I go to theater, if I want to watch a cinema, movie, I have to purchase the ticket. If I want to watch a serial on the Netflix, I have to subscribe it, I have to pay it. But when you go in the company of nature, everything is free of cost. There is no getting and there is only getting. There is nothing like spending in the company of nature. We have given our hearts away, a sordid wound. See, we have given our hearts away, he is saying. Our hearts we haven't given to nature. We have given our hearts away to the material world, to the human world. We are engaged more in the human world, man-made world, we can say. A sordid boon. What is sordid boon? Material pleasures. That's what he is saying. Sordid boon means, boon you know. Boon is the blessing from the God, opposite to curse. But what we are doing again? Sordid boon. Material pleasures are tented pleasures. Material pleasures are paid pleasures. So they are called, the pleasure which we get from the material world, Wordsworth calls them the sordid boon, because they are paid pleasure, they are blackened pleasures, they are having some kind of the side effects or the bad effects. This sea that bears her bosom to the moon. See, look towards the sea. This sea that bears her bosom to the moon. Here, sea is personified and it is said that, Wordsworth is saying that the sea is as if giving a place to the moon. When we go to the seashores and we are observing the natural beauty on the in the coastal areas, or we are sitting on the beach, the seashore, and we are observing the beauty of the sea. What we can say, the beautiful reflection of the moon, the beautiful reflection, the beautiful sun rays penetrating in the sea. So here he is saying that there is a beautiful reflection of the moon falling on the sea, and as if he felt that the sea has a motherly instinct and it is giving a place to the moon inside her womb, here we can say, for bosom. The winds that will be howling at all hours. Winds. Do we pay any cost for the wind, for any oxygen or air? So winds are howling at all hours. We enjoy them. It is a long, doleful cry. What he is saying, it is also a figure of speech. Winds are howling, it is a long cry. This is another figure of speech, that is personification. Personification, you all of know, that when the non-living things are attached, the qualities of the living beings, the figure of speech is personification. So the wind never cry. There is some sound of the wind. It is called as a howling. They are as if they are crying, but we can take the meaning over here is that the winds are free, the oxygen is free, the air is free, and are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. Here there is a simile even. The winds are compared to the flowers. Flowers who were sleeping and now they are up. They are awakened. They have been awakened from their sleep. Similarly, wind is also howling. Wind is also floating, moving, we can say. So, upgathered now like sleeping flowers. So we have a lot of figures of speech in this poem. Oxymoron is there, personification is there, okay, and simile is there. Here, when, okay, do you know what is simile? Simile is a figure of speech. It is a comparison between two things by using the words like and as. We will have a separate video or a lecture upon these figures of speech, but here for the sake of understanding you must know what is simile, what is oxymoron, and what is personification. So winds are compared to the sleeping flowers which are just awakened from their sleep, and they are the air is floating and the flowers, they are also upgathered now. For this, for everything we are out of tune. See, we are not looking towards the beauty of the sea. We are not enjoying the reflections of the moon. We are not enjoying the air. We are not enjoying even the flowers, the fragrance. But we are engaged, completely, fully engrossed in this material world. Okay? So it is called as we are out of tune. We don't have any linkage with these natural things nowadays. It moves us not. See, when we look towards these natural things, the emotions, they are awakened in our mind. Emotions are gathered in our mind. But nowadays we have become so materialistic that even these natural things, they fail to move us, to move our emotions. Movements not physically, there is no physical movement over here, but there is a movement, there is an awakening of the emotions, happiness, even sadness. See, whenever you are sad, and if you are feeling somewhat nervous and you go in the company of nature, within 5 to 10 minutes you will feel that, yes, my mood is now okay, that pessimism has gone, now I am feeling optimistic. That kind of energy, that kind of power is present in the nature, which we are ignoring nowadays. It moves us not. Oh great God, please save us. Great God, he is saying. I would rather be, he is requesting the God, I would rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn. Here he is placing, he is put forwarding the theory of back to nature. See, he is a romantic movement, and all the romantic poets, they have talked about the theory of the back to nature, because nature is the only truth, nature is the God, nature is the friend, nature is the philosopher, nature is the best teacher and preacher for all of them. So he wants to go back to nature, and he wants to be a pagan. What is pagan? Who is a pagan? Pagan is a person who is practicing a primitive religion. A person who practices primitive religion. So see, earlier people, even in India, earlier people, all our festivals, they were in tune with the nature. Everywhere there was the worship of nature. Even in Naga Panchami, Vata Purnima, we used to worship, we used to pray to the natural gods. But nowadays we are making it as if it is some function. There is a huge DJ, the loud music is there, sound is there. So it was not earlier in those primitive religions. So he wants to say primitive people, earlier people, tribal people, they were living in the company of nature. They enjoyed the company of nature. They paid more attention to the natural things. So I would like to go back. I would like to live life like a pagan. But nowadays this creed, what is creed and what is outworn? Such people, they have become outdated. They are called as backward. Those who want to go back to nature, those who want to do farming, they are called as outdated. And what is the creed? In Marathi we can say Jamaat, or creed are the people following a particular belief. So he says now the people who follow the belief that nature is God, they are called as outdated. They have become outworn. But I want to be a part of such creed. I want to be a part of such tribe. I don't want to live in this material world. So might I standing on this pleasant lea. See, how is the lea? Lea is a grassland. So the lea is very pleasant. It's very happy side. I am feeling fresh air. I am taking lot of oxygen is there. Beautiful flowers are there. I am enjoying all those things. So might I standing on this pleasant lea have glimpses that would make me less forlorn. I want to go back to lea. I want to go back to grassland. I want to go back to forest, and I want to enjoy all the natural things. He is putting forward this philosophy again and again. I want to have the glimpses. I want to have the glances. Glimpses. Glance. He wants to look. What he wants to look? Not the screens, but he wants to look the nature, the natural objects, the beauty of nature. He wants to look at. To look at the beauty of the nature. And that sight of the beautiful natural things, I will feel less lonely. Forlorn is lonely. See, nowadays in the cities, this is the major problem. I am feeling lonely. I am alone. I don't have friends. But see the people who are in the company of nature, the travelers who travel to the forest. They enjoy the company of trekkers, those who go on the mountains. They don't feel such kind of loneliness. They are always optimistic, full of energy and enthusiasm. They don't complain about such kind of loneliness and all those psychological illnesses, right? So, nature is the best friend. Nature is the best reliever. Nature is the best medicine for loneliness, we can say. Have sight of Proteus rising from the sea. He wishes to say, I want to see Proteus. Who is Proteus? Proteus is a sea god from the Greek mythology. He is the sea god from Greek mythology. Okay? So he wants to look back at Proteus. And this Proteus is endowed with the gift of prophecy, with the gift of vision. He can see the future. This Proteus has this blessing. Okay, so he wants to see the Proteus rising from the sea, or hear the old Triton blow his wreathed horn. He wants to listen to the Triton. Triton is also a Greek god. Triton is also a Greek god, and he is blowing. He is blowing a musical instrument which is called as horn. Horn, शिंग आपल्याकडे फुंकलं जातं, that kind of horn is there, and it is red is curved horn. So it is a musical instrument which is blown. At the beginning of the wars earlier in Mahabharata, you might have seen the horns were blown at the beginning of the war when the war day began. So he wants to see the old Triton blow this horn. He wants to see the sight of Proteus rising from the sea. He wants to stand on the grassland enjoying the beauty of the nature. So this is the poem. Okay. So he is saying in the first 8 lines of the octave, he is describing how human beings, they are engaged in the world, material world, too much. Too much is extra. Okay. And in the last 6 lines or in the suicide, he is telling us that he wants to go back to nature. What is the remedy to come out of this material world? The only remedy is that we can go back to nature, we can enjoy the company of nature, be the friend of nature, be the companion of nature, and all your problems will be solved. Like the loneliness is there, the psychological illnesses are there. So now you might have understood, students, why this poem, studying this poem is important even today. Okay, so nowadays also many problems we are facing. People are migrating to cities, deforestation is there, we are moving away from nature, lot of problems are natural calamities and man-made calamities have been arising. And to face such kind of problems, what is more important is going back to nature, or respecting the nature, or paying attention to the nature, and engaging less in the material world. That is the main theme of this poem. I hope you have understood this poem well. If you have any problems, we can discuss it later. Thank you very much.